Before we begin today's episode, take a quiet moment to relax. If you are listening right now, I invite you to tell us in the comments where you are listening from today. A country, a city, or perhaps a quiet room late at night. Because tonight's episode is a gentle journey through one of the most fascinating stories ever preserved by history. Today, we are exploring the life, the family, and the mystery of a child who became a king, and a king who became immortal. This is the story of Tutankhamun. Now, let your breathing slow. Allow your thoughts to soften, and let us begin. Long before Tutankhamun was born, Egypt was already ancient. The Great Pyramids had stood beneath the desert sun for more than 1,000 years. Kings had ruled, kings had died, and many had already been forgotten by time. Gods had risen in importance, fallen out of favor, and returned again under new names. Egypt was a land built on tradition. It was built on ritual, on repetition, and on the belief that balance and order must always be preserved. This sacred balance was known as Ma'at. Ma'at represented harmony, truth, and stability. It was the invisible force that kept the universe in order. When Ma'at was strong, the Nile flooded properly, crops grew, and the people prospered. When Ma'at was broken, chaos followed. The responsibility for protecting Ma'at belonged to one person alone, the pharaoh. The pharaoh was not merely a ruler or political leader. He was believed to be a living god on earth, a bridge between the human world and the divine. His actions affected the land itself. When a pharaoh ruled wisely, the world remained balanced. When he ruled poorly, suffering followed. Into this ancient and delicate world, around the year 1341 BCE, a child was born. His name was Tutankhamun. The name Tutankhamun meant living image of Aten. Aten was the sun disk, a single god whose worship would soon shake Egypt to its core. Tutankhamun was born during one of the most unstable periods in Egyptian history. His father was almost certainly the pharaoh Akhenaten, a ruler remembered not for conquest or monuments, but for revolution. Akhenaten rejected the traditional gods of Egypt. He closed their temples. He erased their names from inscriptions. He removed the powerful priesthood that had guided Egypt for centuries. In their place, he demanded devotion to a single god, Aten, the sun disk. This was a dramatic change. For generations, Egyptians had worshipped many gods: Amun, Ra, Osiris, Isis, and countless others shaped daily life, festivals, and beliefs about death and the afterlife. Akhenaten's religious revolution disrupted everything. Priests lost power, temples fell silent, ancient rituals were abandoned. The people were confused and uneasy. Foreign enemies sensed weakness, trade suffered, Egypt's influence beyond its borders began to fade. By the time Tutankhamun was born, Egypt was fragile. He was a child born into uncertainty, into a kingdom searching for balance after years of disruption. As a young boy, Tutankhamun likely lived within the royal city of Akhetaten, a city built specifically for the worship of Aten. It was unlike any city Egypt had known before. Its temples were open to the sky. Its art style was strange and unfamiliar, showing the royal family in intimate, almost human moments. Yet behind the beauty of the city lay instability. When Akhenaten died, Egypt stood at a crossroads, and the future of the kingdom would soon rest on the shoulders of a child. When Akhenaten died, Egypt entered a quiet moment of uncertainty. There was no powerful adult heir ready to take the throne. There was no strong leader to restore confidence immediately. Instead, the crown passed to a child. Tutankhamun became pharaoh when he was only about 9 years old. At that age, he could not rule alone. He could not make decisions for the kingdom. He could not command armies or manage priests. The real power rested in the hands of others. Two men, in particular, shaped the early years of his reign. One was Ai, a senior court official who had served under previous pharaohs. The other was Horemheb, a powerful military commander. Together, these men guided the boy king and quietly controlled the direction of Egypt. One of their first and most important decisions was to reverse Akhenaten's religious revolution. The worship of Aten had weakened Egypt. The old gods were deeply rooted in the lives of the people. Without them, the kingdom felt unbalanced. Slowly and carefully, the old traditions returned. Temples to Amun were reopened. Priests were restored to their roles. Ancient rituals resumed. And with these changes came a symbolic transformation. The young pharaoh's name was changed. Tutankhamun became Tutankhamun. The meaning shifted from living image of Aten to living image of Amun. This name change was not just personal, it was political. It announced to Egypt that the old gods were back. Tutankhamun became a symbol of restoration. Though still a child, his image was used to represent stability, tradition, and divine favor. Statues and inscriptions showed him making offerings to gods he had never known during his earliest years. Behind the scenes, advisors ensured that Egypt returned to familiar ways. The royal court moved away from Akhenaten. The capital shifted back toward Thebes. The abandoned city of Akhenaten slowly fell silent. Tutankhamun's reign was short, but it was meaningful, not because of military victories or grand monuments, but because it repaired the spiritual identity of Egypt. Despite his royal status, Tutankhamun was physically weak. Modern examinations of his remains have revealed a fragile body. He suffered from a malformed foot that made walking painful. He likely needed a cane for support. More than 100 walking sticks were found in his tomb. He also showed signs of bone disease and repeated illness. Some evidence suggests he may have suffered from malaria. This was not a strong warrior king. This was a sick child trying to survive. Yet royal art often portrayed him as healthy and powerful, riding chariots and hunting animals. These images were symbolic rather than realistic, meant to reassure the people that their pharaoh was strong enough to protect Ma'at. During these years, Tutankhamun was married. His queen was Ankhesenamun. She was his half-sister, the daughter of Akhenaten and Nefertiti. Royal marriages within the family were common in ancient Egypt. They were believed to preserve divine bloodlines, but they often came at a great cost. Ankhesenamun was young, intelligent, and politically aware. Together, Tutankhamun and Ankhesenamun had at least 2 children, both daughters, who were stillborn. Their tiny mummified bodies were later buried with their father. The loss of these children must have been devastating, though history records nothing of their grief. Life at court continued quietly. Tutankhamun performed rituals. He attended ceremonies. He appeared in official events. But the heavy responsibilities of kingship were carried by others. Then, unexpectedly, Tutankhamun died. He was around 18 or 19 years old. His death was sudden, and Egypt was unprepared. Tutankhamun's death came quietly. There were no great battles, no public warnings, no long illness recorded in stone. One day, the young king was alive, and then he was gone. He was only about 18 or 19 years old. The cause of his death remains uncertain even today. Modern science has examined his mummy in great detail.
X-rays and CT scans have revealed clues, but no final answer. At one time, scholars believed he may have been murdered. A blow to the head was suspected. Court conspiracies were imagined. But later studies showed that the damage to his skull likely occurred after death, during the mummification process or later handling. Other theories followed. Some believe he suffered a serious injury to his leg, possibly from a fall or a chariot accident. An infection may have followed. In a world without antibiotics, even a small wound could become fatal. There's also strong evidence that Tutankhamun suffered from malaria. Combined with his weakened body and bone disease, this illness may have overwhelmed him. Most historians now believe his death was the result of natural causes, brought on by poor health and infection, rather than violence. Whatever the cause, his death left Egypt in shock. There was no clear adult heir, no strong successor ready to rule. Tutankhamun's queen, Ankhesenamun, suddenly found herself alone and vulnerable. In desperation, she did something extraordinary. She wrote a letter to the king of the Hittites, a powerful foreign empire. In the letter, she explained that her husband was dead and that she had no son. She begged the Hittite king to send one of his sons to marry her. She wrote that she feared being forced to marry one of her own servants. This letter survives today, and it reveals her fear and isolation. The Hittite king was shocked. Such a request was unheard of. Eventually, he agreed and sent a prince to Egypt. The prince never arrived. He was killed on the journey, likely by Egyptian forces who opposed the idea of a foreign king. Soon after, Ankhesenamun disappeared from history. Her fate remains unknown. With no royal heir, power shifted quickly. Tutankhamun was buried in haste. His tomb was small for a king, much smaller than the grand tombs of other pharaohs. It was likely not intended for him at all. Some objects in the tomb were clearly reused, their original names erased and replaced with Tutankhamun's. Time was short. Rituals had to be completed. The body had to be prepared. Tutankhamun was mummified according to tradition. His organs were removed and preserved. His body was wrapped in layers of linen. Amulets were placed between the bandages for protection in the afterlife. He was laid inside a series of coffins. The innermost coffin was made of solid gold. Over his face was placed a mask that would later become one of the most famous objects in the world. The burial chamber was sealed, and then something unusual happened. Tutankhamun was forgotten. Soon after his burial, his tomb entrance was buried under rubble and sand. Workers' huts from later construction covered it completely. Other kings were remembered, their tombs were robbed, their names were carved into monuments, but Tutankhamun faded from memory. His short reign left little mark on history. For more than 3,000 years, he lay undisturbed. The desert protected him. While other tombs were looted and emptied, his remained hidden. Egypt changed. Empires rose and fell. Languages disappeared. Religions transformed. Still, Tutankhamun slept. For more than 3,000 years, Tutankhamun remained hidden beneath the desert sand. While other tombs were robbed, damaged, and stripped of their treasures, his rested in silence. The Valley of the Kings changed slowly over time. Floods washed debris into the valley. Workers built shelters. New tombs were carved nearby. All of it buried the small entrance to Tutankhamun's tomb. By the early 20th century, many believed the Valley of the Kings had been completely explored. Archaeologists had searched for decades. Most tombs had already been found. Many scholars assumed nothing significant remained. One man refused to believe that. His name was Howard Carter. Howard Carter was a British archaeologist who had spent years studying Egyptian tombs. He was meticulous, patient, and deeply committed to his work. For a long time, his efforts brought little success. Carter was funded by Lord Carnarvon, a wealthy British nobleman who shared his fascination with ancient Egypt. Year after year, they searched the valley. Year after year, they found nothing. Eventually, Lord Carnarvon grew tired of the expense. He planned to end the project. Carter begged for one final season. Reluctantly, Carnarvon agreed. In November of 1922, Carter's team began clearing rubble near the tomb of Ramses VI. On November 4th, a stone step carved into the ground. Carter knew immediately that this was important. More steps followed, then a doorway, then seals bearing the name Tutankhamun. Carter stopped the excavation. He sent a message to Lord Carnarvon and waited. When Carnarvon arrived, Carter carefully made a small opening in the sealed door. He inserted a candle and peered inside. When asked what he could see, Carter replied quietly, "Wonderful things." Inside was a nearly intact royal tomb. The rooms were filled with objects stacked tightly together. Golden beds shaped like animals, chariots, thrones, jewelry, boxes filled with food, clothing, and ceremonial items. Everything a king would need in the afterlife. The burial chamber itself was sealed behind another wall. When it was opened, Carter found a large stone sarcophagus. Inside were nested coffins, one inside another. The final coffin was made of solid gold. Within it lay the mummy of Tutankhamun. Over his face was placed a mask of extraordinary beauty. Made of gold and precious stones, it showed the calm, youthful face of a king prepared for eternity. The world was captivated. Newspapers reported the discovery across the globe. Photographs of the treasures filled magazines. Tutankhamun became the most famous pharaoh in history almost overnight. Soon, rumors began to spread. Several people connected to the tomb died in the years following its discovery, including Lord Carnarvon. Newspapers spoke of a curse placed on anyone who disturbed the king's rest. The legend of the curse of the pharaoh was born. In reality, most people involved lived long lives. Howard Carter himself lived for many years after the discovery. Modern historians believe the curse was a creation of the media, designed to heighten mystery and fear. Still, the idea captured the imagination of the public. As Tutankhamun's mummy was studied, more was learned about his life and death. His fragile body told a story of illness and pain. His burial revealed a hurried process, likely completed under pressure. Yet, despite his short life and modest reign, Tutankhamun became the greatest ambassador of ancient Egypt. His tomb taught the modern world how Egyptians prepared for death, what they valued, what they believed about the soul and the afterlife. Through him, ancient Egypt came alive again. Tutankhamun was not remembered for conquest or power. He was remembered because he was preserved. A forgotten king, protected by sand and time, waiting to tell his story. And now, that story has reached you. As this episode comes to a close, allow your thoughts to drift gently. The desert is quiet again. The tomb is sealed once more in your imagination. Some stories sleep for thousands of years before they are told, and some kings become immortal only after they are gone. Good night.